Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Each year, the Iowa Women's Foundation hosts this luncheon to celebrate the work we've achieved, together with all of you, and to unveil the work we'll be doing in the next year. The Iowa Women's Foundation has one focus: to improve the lives of Iowa women and girls through economic self-sufficiency. In 2018, we're further focusing our resources on addressing one particular issue faced by women across our state. Based on the results of our research and our visits to cities and towns across Iowa, we know that there is one particular struggle that time and again gets in the way of women's economic self-sufficiency: lack of access to affordable child care. This is an issue affecting so many families, and all too often, it falls solely to the women to find a solution. Access to quality childcare is essential for women with families to enter and remain in the workforce. Without adequate, affordable childcare, women cannot even begin to construct the foundation upon which they will build their success. This is why the IWF is so excited to be laying the groundwork to help communities and businesses address this important issue. We've begun the process of gathering and analyzing national, state, and local data to help us determine how these needs can best be met. Next, we plan to connect business, community, and government resources, focusing on community-based solutions to this problem faced by women and families across the state. Dawn Oliver Wyant, IWF Executive Director, will tell you a little more about this exciting new initiative later today. Now, a bit about today's program. First, we'll announce the organizations the IWF will be supporting in the upcoming year. Then we'll watch a short video highlighting how Iowa businesses can help make childcare accessible for women. Next, we'll hear from Frontier Co-op, an area employer offering on-site childcare. They'll tell us about the impact it's had on their staff and work culture. We'll hear from Jeremy James about why the James Investment Group continues to be such a loyal supporter of the Iowa Women's Foundation. And finally, we'll get the pleasure of listening to our keynote speaker, who we're so thrilled to have with us today, author and former editor-in-chief of 17 magazine, Ann Shoket. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognize several outstanding groups in this room with us. Our luncheon sponsors are listed in your program and on the screens in front, but please help me thank them now for supporting the 2017 annual luncheon. Our current Board of Directors and Advisory Council, please stand. Board and Advisory Council. These are truly devoted people, truly devoted to improving the lives of Iowa's women and girls. We would also like to thank the Luncheon Committee and its co-chairs, Nikki Morris and Sarah Russett, who have worked so hard and put in many hours to make this day possible. Luncheon Committee, Sarah, Nikki, please stand. Thank you. In the audience today, there are many girls and women who were honored in our 4th edition of Ovation, a tribute to Iowa women and girls. Please stand. You have truly made an impact on the people in your life. Thank you for all you have done and continue to do. Copies? Yes. Copies of Ovation are available at your table. We'd like everyone to please take one home with you. We hope these stories will inspire all of you to honor a special woman or girl in next year's edition. A very special thank you to all the founders and Leadership Circle donors here today. And you know I'm going to ask you to stand. We're all Leadership Circle donors and founders. Please stand. It is because of you that we are able to continue the work to improve the lives of Iowa's women and girls. Yes, thank you. And finally, our heartfelt thanks to the IWF Grant Review Committee and the Community Review Panelists for your hard work and your expertise. You have chosen an incredible group of grantee partners. And I promise this is the last group I'm going to make stand, but please, all of our grant review people and our grants committee, please stand. Now a little more about our 2018 grantee partners. We're thrilled to announce that the Iowa Women's Foundation will award 14 grants totaling $100,000 in grant money. Thank you to all of you here today who have been part of making that possible. We could not be more excited to partner with this group of amazing organizations. Each of our grantee partners is doing great work to better the lives of women and girls in Iowa. These organizations help women by giving them the tools to build toward economic self-sufficiency. They offer women the know-how and support they need to construct their own future successes. This year's grantee partners include an organization helping women refugees with a lifetime of farming experience become agricultural entrepreneurs in Cedar Falls, a leadership and empowerment curriculum for young Latina women in Des Moines, a program in the Quad Cities helping unemployed and underemployed women find jobs and grow their careers, and many more organizations doing great work across our state. We're very humbled to support the work of these exceptional organizations. Without further ado, here are the grantee partners your contributions will support in 2018. The Catherine McCauley Center, Cedar Rapids, for offering hope and opportunity through transitional housing for women. Dorothy's House, Des Moines, for daring to rise strong. Dress for Success, Des Moines, for their professional women's group. Dress for Success Quad Cities, for empowering women to economic independence. Eyes Open Iowa, West Des Moines, for building a culture of support for pregnant and parenting young women. First Congregational United Church of Christ, Cedar Rapids, for Cafe 361. Grin and Grow Limited, Waterloo, for removing childcare as a barrier to women's economic self-sufficiency through GAP scholarships. House of Hope, Waterloo, for transitional housing for single, homeless mothers. Latinas, Latinos al Éxito Incorporated, Des Moines, for Latinas al Éxito, Latina Girls Toward Success. Lutheran Services in Iowa, Des Moines, for refugee childcare, training, and expansion. NISA African Family Services, Iowa City, for Friendship Sewing Cooperative. St. Mark Youth Enrichment, Dubuque, for teaching, mentoring, and equipping St. Mark families for success. Tanager Place, Cedar Rapids, for the Pink Project. University of Northern Iowa Community Producers Program, Cedar Falls, for economic development for refugee women agriculturalists. What an exciting list. We are thrilled to be a part of the great work happening all around our state. Together, we're helping these organizations give women and girls the tools they need to build their own solutions and work toward their vision of success. Thank you.
My name is Dawn Oliver Wyand, and I am the Executive Director at the Iowa Women's Foundation. Because of you and your support, the Iowa Women's Foundation improves the lives of Iowa's women and girls. With a diversified mix of action and funding, we work to alleviate the barriers that are keeping women and girls from being successful. We believe that when women are successful, their families are successful, and ultimately our communities will be. At the heart of the Iowa Women's Foundation's work is our grant making. Over the past 23 years, we have awarded almost $1 million to 117 organizations benefiting thousands and thousands of women and girls in all 99 counties across Iowa. Our work also includes on-the-ground research and traveling to communities across our state to understand the economic issues and the barriers facing Iowa's women and girls. Our recent findings have told us that the lack of accessible, affordable, quality childcare is a major barrier to women's economic self-sufficiency. Women across Iowa are working hard to become economically self-sufficient, but all too often they find that they're lacking a solid foundation or that there are barriers that are keeping them from even getting started. These women's struggles don't only affect themselves and their families, they also affect their employers and their communities. These problems are not impossible to solve. Through our research, we have learned that with several different solutions, we can help empower women across Iowa to build their own way to success. Please turn your attention, we know we can help, we know who our partners need to be, and we know that we can make a difference. We've seen examples of how that's being done right now in communities across our state. These are people who are already getting it right. Please turn your attention to the screens at the front of the room. Today, we would like to show you a short video that will illustrate to you how the lack of accessible, affordable, quality childcare doesn't just keep women from attaining self-sufficiency, it also keeps companies from finding the qualified workers they need to fill open positions. And it keeps communities from attracting and retaining a vibrant, sustainable workforce. The video will also show you how policies and programs that do expand child care and their choices help families, businesses, and ultimately our communities. The Iowa Women's Foundation works to improve the lives of Iowa's women and girls through economic self-sufficiency. And we aren't a direct service provider. We do our work through 5 key strategies: research, grant making, advocacy, education, and collaboration. We take our research and what we learn from that, we focus our efforts. In 2015, we learned that 70% of Iowa's female head of households were struggling economically. To us, that was unacceptable. So we decided to tour the state of Iowa and visit 18 different communities and ask the why. 9 of the 18 communities chose childcare as their #1 issue. And because that's what we learned from our communities, that's why we decided that we needed to narrow our focus to increase our impact and look at the childcare issue.
The lack of daycare availability, we've seen a very large impact to our workforce. And part of the reason for that is that we have not been able to retain a number of new hires. I mean, it's a choice between, do I go to work and leave my kid at home alone or at home in substandard care, or do I quit and stay at home and watch my child? And obviously, for the most part, they choose their children over their employer. One of the things that I am looking to do has been a co-op of employers coming together. Child Care Resource and Referral Authority helped me connect with the Iowa Women's Foundation, and they've been able to help us understand what resources are available to us and help our community raise awareness for the issue. We have to realize that as a community, we have to make sure that we are enabling our population to be successful, and I think that starts with making sure that our kids are taken care of.
Businesses need to be at the table to help us, and we know that there are several businesses out there that have already recognized this issue as important to them and have started implementing and building solutions. Frontier Co-op is one of those businesses.
Frontier Co-op has two different sides to their child care benefit. They have a child care reimbursement program, and then they have an on-site child care as well. So the on-site child care is a licensed daycare, so it has many of the activities and curriculum that you would see in other daycare facilities. And then we have our child care reimbursement program. So that helps out the people that we have on second and third shift, and we have 3 other Iowa locations, so it's helping them out as well with the financial burden that comes with going to another facility for their child care needs. To us, childcare has given us the opportunity to really have this work-life balance. Many people talk about it, but we've really figured out a way to help the employee along. When you think about bringing our work and life kind of and integrating them together, I think that it's definitely eased some of the stress that new families are going through.
My son was at Frontier's on-site childcare for the first 1.5 years of his life, and then we transitioned him to a different daycare in Cedar Rapids. And even though he's not physically there anymore, I still receive a child care reimbursement from Frontier. I really appreciate that Frontier has made the investment in the physical space and the staff and the care for parents to have their kids on site, but also they recognize that child care is a deeply personal choice. It's one of the most important choices you make as a parent. So having an employer that supports that decision as well has been really important for me. Frontier is very unique in supporting parents in the workplace, not only because we have our on-site childcare and we have the childcare reimbursement, but I think what's even more important is the culture that it creates. I'm surrounded by people who, whether or not they have children, they understand and support that you are a better employee if you feel like you can take care of your family and you don't feel like you have this conflict between a job that you care about and want to do well at and the people that you love.
The lack of childcare is not just a women's issue. It's not just a family's issue. It's everybody's issue. It's businesses, it's educational institutions, it's the trades, it's our communities. One solution is not going to solve the problem. It's going to take multiple solutions in multiple combinations across our state. If we can get more affordable childcare, more women will be able to go to work. More families will be economically self-sufficient. Our businesses will become stronger. Our communities will grow. And ultimately, the economy of the state of Iowa will strengthen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Megan Shoket, Director of HR at Frontier Co-op. Megan is here to share more with us about Frontier's on-site child care and the difference it has made for their employees and their work culture. Please give a warm welcome to Megan.
All right, thank you so much, Dawn, and thank you for the Iowa Women's Foundation for having me here today. At Frontier Co-op, we're proud to offer on-site childcare to all of our employees. As Director of HR, I'm happy to work for a company that doesn't only talk the walk, but they also support our employees by contributing and making them the fullest that they can be, not only as a team member, but as a family member as well. We provide opportunities for families to be together during the day, whether it's a mother nursing her newborn or a dad having a cookie with their son at the organic cafeteria. There are many challenges that come along with being a parent. Having on-site childcare simplifies a whole lot of them. Helping our team help solve these stressors makes good business sense as well. Keeping our parents and staff very happy not only helps the parent themselves, but also the employees that are working with them on a daily basis. Everybody's very engaged when you have happy employees around you, whether you're currently raising kids or not. And let's be honest, who doesn't like having a conversation with a 3-year-old during your lunch about princesses or superheroes to start off your day? Being a mom of a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, I know these stresses all too well. I think about myself when I was growing up, imagining the mom that I was going to be. You always imagine yourself to be the great TV mom that has it all together. You have the gourmet meals, you pack your kids' lunch, you do crafts, you play outside, you socialize with friends. Of course, you have time to exercise and all of that, all while having a successful career. Then you become a mom, and in the first month, you realize that if you can get out of your sweats and get a shower that day, then it's been a pretty successful day. Being a parent, you feel like you're constantly being pulled in multiple directions. You never feel like you're giving enough in any one area. Unfortunately, in these moments, and like the moments you heard in the video, this is when parents have to decide between their family and work. For me, it was in that moment that on-site childcare was a great benefit. I was able to be involved in the daily life of my children while still being in a career that I was very passionate about and supporting them financially. Frontier has always been a leader in the natural industry, and I'm proud to be setting an example for our state when it comes to treatment of our employees and our family. So I would like to thank you and thank the Iowa Women's Foundation for the great work that they're doing throughout the state.
Boy, I wish I had a Frontier co-op when my kids were in school. I can remember sitting at the desk and the phone would ring and you'd pick it up and you'd hear that daycare provider's voice on the other end of the line and your heart would just sink because now you knew you had to figure out what you were going to do because they couldn't go back to daycare until they'd been fever-free for 24 hours. Okay. Thank you, Megan, so much for being here and for sharing with us more about Frontier's childcare. And thank you to Frontier Co-op for being an example for other employers when it comes to smart, accessible childcare. And thank you for generously supporting the Iowa Women's Foundation today. Now, please help me welcome to the stage an amazing friend of our organization. Please give a warm welcome to financial advisor, branch manager at the James Investment Group, and a loyal supporter of the Iowa Women's Foundation, Jeremy James.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you all for being here today. I'm honored to be on the short list of men who have had the opportunity to address this group. I spent much of my life surrounded by women. I was raised by a single mom who started her business with a team of women in a male-dominated industry. Today, our office continues to be exclusively women, with one 6'4" exception. I try my best to see the world through a feminist lens when I can, to unpack my privilege, and to stay informed. However, participating in the grant review process for the Iowa Women's Foundation shifted my perspective and illuminated the challenges women and girls in Iowa are facing every single day. As a business owner, I may come up against some tough choices, but I've never had to consider whether I should give up my career because I don't make enough to cover the cost of childcare. This is just one impossibly difficult question women are facing this very minute. My mother Lois and I have sponsored or supported the Iowa Women's Foundation for many years because they are committed to truly understanding the needs of women and girls in Iowa. They build solutions from the ground up rather than from top down. They ask questions and collect data statewide so I can be confident my contributions are maximized for the greatest possible impact. The act of sitting down during the grant review process, each one representing a dire need, was truly an eye-opener. And it demonstrated just how much more work we still have to do as a state. The Iowa Women's Foundation has developed a blueprint for doing this work. They are experts on how to effectively empower the women and girls in Iowa. James Investment Group is proud to be the match sponsor for the first $10,000 raised here today. When we meet with clients to talk about retirement, we share with them to never leave a match on the table. Please don't leave our match on the table now. Know that your contributions here today will be doubled so that there's even more opportunity for us to empower our women and girls in Iowa. Thank you for your generosity.
Okay, so now do you all see why I tried to fix Jeremy up with my daughter? He's turning red, but I'm serious. It's too late, they're married. Anybody single? There's Jeremy, he's over there. Anyway, Jeremy, thank you for everything and thank you for letting me embarrass you. I really appreciate it. Your passion and support for our work is amazing. We are so very grateful for advocates and supporters like you who understand what the Iowa Women's Foundation is all about. You get it, and you know why we are so passionate about building solutions towards success for Iowa's women and girls. By the way, Jeremy, you thought last year's grant selection process was hard. This year was even worse. We had 87 applications and funding for 14 of them. We left so many amazing programs on the table, and we weren't able to support them. If only we could have done more. Imagine the impact that we would have had. Please make a donation today. Jeremy and Lois will match it. Let's double your contribution with this match and double the number of grants that we can make next year. And I promise I won't do too much whining about it. Just help us write out those checks. Now I'd like to invite Jerry Wadalove, President and CEO from Southgate Companies, to the stage. Jerry will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thanks, Don. It's great to have a wonderful crowd here today. I didn't know this about Jeremy, but I think there might be a little bit of a theme going on. I was raised by a single mother as well, so I grew up in a household of a mom and a sister. So just proud to be a part of the Iowa Women's Foundation Luncheon today. It's an honor for me to introduce today's guest speaker, Ann Shoket. Ann's recently published book is titled The Big Life: Embrace the Mess, Work Your Side Hustle, Find a Monumental Relationship, and Become the Badass Babe You Were Meant to Be. And when you get right down to it, isn't that pretty much what we all want to be? Maybe not the babe part for some of us in here. In her tenure as editor-in-chief at 17 magazine, Ann repositioned the iconic fashion and beauty brand as the most relevant voice for its 13 million readers. As part of the launch team of Cosmo Girl in 1999, she helped revolutionize teen magazines by talking openly about important emotional issues that weren't yet addressed by traditional publications. Named by Forbes as one of the most powerful U.S. fashion magazine editors, Ann has parlayed this influence into helping reshape our national conversation about the power of this generation of millennial women. Ann appears regularly on Good Morning America, Today, The Oprah Winfrey Show, The View, CNN, Access Hollywood, and E! News. In her new book, she offers guidance to millennial women who are changing what it means to be powerful in the world. The book also serves as a guide for non-millennials to learn about this generation of young women and how they are reshaping our work culture and our definition of success. I'll be listening intently. I have a 12-year-old daughter at home. Please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, author, former editor-in-chief of 17 magazine, and thought leader on women's success, Ann Shoket.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Dawn. Thank you all for being here today. What a thrill. This is my first time in Iowa, and I thank you very much, actually, for having a gorgeous sunrise this morning that I got to see with a wide open horizon. About a year ago, I was giving a speech to a millennial women's group in Providence, Rhode Island. And a woman in the back of the room stood up. She was neatly dressed for a Saturday, in her mid-40s. She wasn't there as someone's mom or someone's mentor. She was there for inspiration and information, just like all the other women in the room. And she stood up and she said to me, "It seems like all anyone can talk about these days is millennials. How does someone like me, who is not at the beginning of her career, not get lost in the conversation?" She cut right to the emotional core. I have heard this feeling of anxiety come out again and again in so many different ways. I can't tell you how many times I have told senior executives that I wrote a book about the power of millennial women, and they say, "Ugh, millennials. What do you hate most about millennials?" And before I can say, I think they're game-changing rock star pioneers, they tell me, you guys know all of them, lazy, entitled, what else? Selfish, disloyal. Or I'll be telling well-meaning advisors about my book, and they'll want me to teach young women how to toe the line and sit still and follow the hierarchy that they have built rather than disrupt it. And we all know this person, the senior executives who adopt a kind of jargony way of speaking about their bays and their FOMOs to try and connect with their younger employees. It's all about fear. It's all about fear of being left out of this massive conversation about the way work is changing for everyone. And frankly, those changes are being led by millennial women. Change is hard for everyone. And that morning in Rhode Island, both sides, the newbies and the seasoned, were united with one common goal: to make their mark on the world on their own terms, on your own terms, and to build a career that's meaningful. Isn't that what we all want to yourself, to someone else, or to the world? That's the big life. The big life is not, let me clear this up right now, the big life is not having it all. It's someone else's idea of the way things should be. It's all pressure and no possibility. And it's not just for the alphas or the it girls with an impossible list of contacts and a very glossy blowout. And it's not just for millennial women. This is the big life for everyone, the big life for all. And so I said to that woman that morning in Providence, you have a choice: to be inspired or diminished. And I choose to be inspired. Because when we're all being asked to prepare for careers and lives that are longer and more unpredictable than we ever could have imagined, it makes sense to take our cues from a generation that is just inventing themselves for the first time. And the truth is, I think we should all be a little bit more millennial. When millennial women insist on transparency, which very often feels like TMI to you and I, especially salary transparency. That's going to get us all closer to equal pay. And this very millennial idea of wanting freedom, right? Freedom from the office, freedom from the old ways of doing things, freedom from the 9-to-5 grind. That's going to get us all closer to a solution for work-life balance. And one of the best changes that millennial women are leading is that they're replacing this old idea of competition among women. You know this feeling that there's room at the table for one woman and you have to basically wait until that woman gets up, falls over, dies to get her spot at the table. Millennial women don't see it that way. They do not feel competitive for that space at the table. They are collaborative. They are collaborative, warm groups of women who are helping each other achieve and succeed. That's your sisterhood and your squad. All right. So how did this generation of young women get so empowered to rewrite the rules for success? All right, flashback with me, 2007. That was the year that I became editor-in-chief of 17, and I call it was the year of Lauren Conrad. You guys remember the hills, I know. Everybody wanted to be blonde and tan and drive their Mercedes SUV through Southern California with the wind blowing in your hair. All that Lauren and her friends did was go shopping and drink giant cappuccinos. Well, fast forward a couple of years, and we had a terrible recession. And suddenly we were shopping in our closets and making our cappuccinos at home. And this generation of young women that had just assumed that affluence would be easy and that they would be successful had the rug pulled out from underneath them. Parents were laid off. College wasn't a sure thing. Jobs were impossible to find. But rather than see their horizons get smaller, this generation of women that were just coming into their own were mobilized. They wanted internships in high school. They started businesses in college, and they started to seek out advice from women about how to achieve and succeed. And I could see it from where I was sitting at 17, because all of a sudden, I started getting non-stop emails, messages, frankly, Facebook messages. Even then, we were over email. I started getting non-stop messages from young women asking me for the secrets of success. Or and in 1 year, I got invited to give maybe a dozen speeches to young women's groups talking about how to get started in business. So those women are now in their 20s and 30s, and they are changing the way work works for everyone. I am honored to have had a front row seat for the revolution during my 15 years in teen and young women's media. But it has all been a drum roll leading up to this moment in history where all women, have never had a greater opportunity to craft the lives they want on their own terms, on your own terms. But it's not always so easy to build your version of the big life, particularly when the things that you want to do in life are different than anybody has ever done them before. And so to figure out what was standing in young women's way between what they wanted out of life and where they were, I started to have a series of dinners. I mean, dinner is overselling it. It was fancy frozen pizza and many bottles of rosé, because I don't cook. But I called them the Badass Babes dinners because these were the kind of game-changing, rule-breaking chicks that you wanted to have in your circle. So the first question I ask at every single one of my dinners is, if I could solve any problem for you, what would that problem be? I'm not saying I can, but it helps clarify what are the challenges that we are facing. And so I've done 36 or more dinners, hundreds of women around my dining room table and across the country. And so you think there would be hundreds of answers to this question. But the truth is, there's only 5 problems that come up again and again and again. How do I find a career that is also my passion? How do I get respect from my bosses that think I am a lazy, entitled, selfish, self-obsessed millennial? How do I find a partner who honors my ambition? Will I have to take my foot off the gas of my career when I have kids? And a lot of that anxiety has to do around childcare. And ultimately, will all this struggle be worth it? And so the young women who've been at my table, they tell me they don't have guideposts or rule books or mentors or even models or clear-cut paths to help them navigate this road that they want towards their version of the big life. And yet here's a room full of women and men, and these are probably the same questions that you struggled with at the beginning of your career and at the beginning of your big life. But the truth is that millennial women are different in some very important ways. They don't want to sit still and do things the way it's been done by the woman ahead of them, by their parents, by a generation ahead of them. They don't want to wait to get promoted. They don't want to move up, up, up in a straight line. They want twists and turns and adventure. They don't want to lean in. They're like, you lean into me. And above all else, they want freedom. Freedom from the rules in the office and the way things should be done, and freedom from the swipes against them. They don't care about fancy shoes. The old idea of like the Manolo, the Sex and the City era Manolo, has been replaced by the MacBook Air, or somebody said your iPhone, because you can work. Well, you gotta get a 7 Plus, you can get work off of that thing. That's the new status symbol that says you are so important that you can work from anywhere. And so while they're looking to us for guidance, I think those changes that they are leading are pretty inspiring for us all. This moment of change is an opportunity for every woman. Whether you're a college grad, an executive in a corner office, or a mom returning to work after raising a family. And it's a moment of change and opportunity for me too, because after 20 years in the media business of building someone else's brands, I am building my own, and I am living as millennially as possible. That subtitle of my book that Jerry did a great job with speaks to us all. Embrace your mess, work your side hustle, find a monumental relationship, and become the badass babe that you were meant to be, because you never stop becoming. Millennials are leading the way for us all to have lives and careers that are richer and bigger than we'd ever imagined. And so, come sit at my table, have some fancy frozen pizza, and we'll have a glass of rosé, and join the sisterhood. Thank you.
That's kind of hard to follow. Oh, well. I may be just a little bit prejudiced, but as I wrote down something that she said, game-changing, rural breakers, badass women, and I'm going to add men. Because I have to say to you, I think that the Women's Foundation movement across the country since the early 1980s has been made up of women who are just like that. Women who recognized that there was some issues going on with funding and wanted to make a difference. So we welcome you millennials. We want your support. We want your help. Come join us and be badass babes. And what an impressive career and a fascinating take on how the millennial generation defines and achieves success. Thank you for sharing that with us today. And I'm glad that we were able to give you that sunrise that you weren't familiar. And you didn't tell them that you shared it with your kids by Skype. I think that's really cool too. So anyway. And many thanks to each of you for being here today and to share our celebration with us. I have said it before, and I will continue to say it. It is because of all of you that the Iowa Women's Foundation can do the work that we do. The Iowa Women's Foundation is committed to our ambitious yet very important goal to improve the lives of all of Iowa's women and girls. Women across our state face far too many barriers as they work to build towards success. You heard earlier at the video that on our statewide tour, 9 different communities, that was half of them, identified childcare as a major barrier to economic success for women in their communities. And childcare was the #1 issue that they wanted to work on to help improve the lives of women and girls. It is not just affordable childcare, it is access to childcare. Jefferson, Iowa did a study. They need 200 more slots to meet the need. Fort Dodge, Iowa needs more than 1,600 slots. IWF believes that with more grant making, advocacy, and direct community partnerships, we can help build solutions to more quality, affordable childcare in Jefferson, Fort Dodge, the other 7 communities, and communities we haven't even identified yet. And we know that in doing so, we will be laying a foundation upon which Iowa's women can begin to build their economic security and success. Iowa businesses will expand their workforce, and our communities will thrive. As we narrow our focus and increase our impact on childcare access, our volunteers have been busy putting together a toolkit to help communities look for solutions to problems of childcare access in their own areas. Whether that might be helping women entrepreneurs enter the workforce and start their own companies and their own childcare centers, advocating for employer-provided or subsidized care, or expanding upon existing childcare centers. We are also hard at work increasing the footprint of the Iowa Women's Foundation advocacy work on behalf of Iowa's women and girls. We will do this by sharing the foundation's research, building a stronger base of support through our business networks, monitoring legislation, and meeting with legislators and policymakers, all to ensure that we are at the part of the statewide, state-level decision-making, especially when it comes to issues like childcare that will make a profound difference on all of Iowa's women. There's a reason for the theme of today's event. It is building solutions, plural. We know that it will take not just one solution, but many, to solve the complex problem of childcare access in Iowa. The Iowa Women's Foundation is ready with several strategies: grant making, research, community partnerships, and advocacy. We will ensure through these strategies that multiple solutions will become a functioning reality for families and women and their families and their employers. In short, this is a very exciting time at the Iowa Women's Foundation, and we are asking you to join us and to be a part of this work. Because here I go again. If we cannot do any of this without your help. And so today, I'm going to ask 3 things of you. For those of you who've heard me to speak before, you know this is what I do. Just 3 simple things. First, please tell 3 people what you learned today. We need your voice. Your voice is the #1 thing that you can do for the Women's Foundation. Talk about the child care issue. Talk about how it won't only just impact families, but our businesses and the economy of the state of Iowa. Second, make a donation to the Iowa Women's Foundation so we can continue to help women and girls across Iowa. And finally, volunteer and help us ensure access to affordable, quality child care for all of Iowans. We know that when you improve the lives of Iowa's women and girls, we strengthen our communities. When women and girls succeed, businesses will grow and Iowa will win. So please, be a part of this effort today. Your generous donations and volunteer time will help build success for all of Iowa's women and girls. I really appreciate it. Now I'm just going to I'm done preaching, I'm done begging, done sharing our work. Just know that we need your help. I'm now going to share a couple of house cleaning items with you. First of all, I would like to give a final round of thanks to all of our speakers for their inspiring words and for being here with us today. A heartfelt thank you to Southgate Companies, Lois and Jeremy James, and to everyone who has donated and plans to donate to the Iowa Women's Foundation. Please leave your envelopes with the women at the door as you exit. And we have new pens this year. Talk about a new millennial generation. Don't leave those pens on the table. You can either write with them or use them on your cell phones. They have styluses. The Her magazine found at your seats is hot off the press and is being debuted today. This magazine focuses on women in business with an emphasis on women and who have started their own businesses. Ann's books are going to be available outside of the ballroom doors for purchase, and she is staying a little while and is willing to sign them for you. So please consider getting a book and stopping and seeing Ann. Finally, centerpieces are our gift to the person at your table whose birthday is closest to today. Happy birthday, Dad. Good afternoon, and please drive safely.